All right, y'all, we are back on Out of the Park Baseball 22 with our Colorado Rockies. I've simulated to the end of the season. It is Monday, October 5th, 2026. We finished the season 78 and 84, which is actually, I think, our third best record so far in this save. Yeah, so we went 84 and 78 in 2022, 82 and 80 in 2024, and we went 78 and 84 this year, which is our third best record. We played pretty well down the stretch after we made the trades for Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson. I think we were 38 and 53 when we made those moves, and so that would mean we went 40 and 31, I think, if the math is correct. So that's a nice positive, definitely. So we'll take a look here at how the guys did. We'll go first to the lineups. We'll start with Spencer Torkelson, who over the course of a full season, these are definitely MVP type numbers. He played 62 games with us. He had 22 home runs, 58 runs batted in, a 31% strikeout rate. So that increased from his time in Detroit. He walked a little bit less, but still a slash line of 313, 365, 695 slugging percentage. He did very, very well here in his limited time in Colorado. So, of course, one of the priorities this offseason is going to be to re-sign him. Jim Epps had a very good introduction to Major League Baseball. You see, he hit 325 with a 381 on base percentage, a 604 slugging percentage. He was close to a 3-win player, a 157 WRC plus. He contributed 16 home runs, 44 runs batted in. Someone suggested, I'll get to the comments in a second, that we maybe move him to first because he doesn't have much of an arm. So, I mean, that might be something that we look into. We do have Chad Kirstein coming up through the minor leagues, so he might be our first baseman too, but it's something we can look into, definitely. But still very, very happy with what Jim Epps was able to do in his first Major League season in 26. Hopefully he can keep it up in the years to come. Michael Chavis, remember, we signed this guy for just $1.16 million in the offseason. We're like, maybe he has some power and he'll do good for us. He did a lot more than that. He had an incredible season, his best season in quite a while. He put up an 885 OPS, a 130 WRC plus. He was close to a 4-win player, 31 home runs and 83 runs batted in. So his value is definitely going to increase after this season. Hunter Bishop, of course, we got him in the 2025 offseason, and he did very, very well. I think better than even I expected him to do. You see, last year with Boston, in 147 games, he had a 786 OPS. This year with us, an 846 OPS. He was a 2.6 win player, close to 35 homers, 108 ribbies. So great season for Hunter Bishop. Very glad that we have him under team control for a while. Riley Green, of course, he was struggling a little bit with Detroit. We got him here to Colorado. He did very, very well. 326, 385, 544. He was a 2.5 win player. The BABIP was a little high, but still, that's just very good numbers out of him, based kind of similar to what he did in 2024 with the Tigers. So, of course, we're going to re-sign him as well. Drew Romo had, for a catcher, these numbers are pretty solid. A 2.2 win player, a 786 OPS. He didn't kill us with the bat, which is really nice to see. I'm glad that he's developed into a reliable catcher. Now it's a position that I don't have to worry about, really, which is nice. And then you can see Ezekiel Pagan in a bench role. He played 120 games, started 69 of them. 0.5 win player, 775 OPS. He got some hits when he needed to. So there's not much more you can ask. Ali Sanchez, his morale is still good despite the fact that he expects to be in the starting lineup. He did start 49 games for us this year, a 774 OPS, so he was basically a 1-win player. So our catchers combined for about 3 wins, which isn't terrible. Drew Bowser, a 738 OPS. Ryan Mountcastle, he played a lot of games for us this year. He's a guy we signed just a $1 million contract, and he had a 737 OPS, a 90 WRC plus. So he was a little below average, but for $1 million, I couldn't be too upset. Simmons and Williams we mainly got for their defense. Not surprisingly, they did not do very much with the bat. Simmons wasn't terrible, I guess, for a 37-year-old shortstop, but Williams definitely did not do anything worthwhile with the stick. And so that's how our offense looked. In terms of pitching, we did call up Cameron Burford to get his little cup of coffee in September. His control finally went up. It got to a point where I was comfortable calling him up. You can see he went from AA this year to AAA and then to the big leagues. And in his 5 starts, he put up a 2.76 ERA, a 2.60 FIP. You can see that he did not, I don't really care about wins and losses for pitchers, but it looks nice because he did not lose a game in his time in the major leagues. He gave us innings. He gave us, really good performances here in his starts in the majors, which is really, really promising. He was the number one prospect in baseball, and he is definitely going to slot into our rotation in 2027 and beyond. Kumar Rocker had a pretty solid season, 3.5 win pitcher this year, 4.52 ERA, even for FIP. Batters at 268 off of him, so he is going to occupy a spot in our starting rotation, of course, in 2027. No surprise there. Denny Brady really had an outstanding season. His FIP was a little high, but given the circumstances, you look at his grades, they're not much to write home about, but he just had an incredible season, a 3.95 ERA. We talked about the FIP, a 20% strikeout rate. It's not great, but it's hard for me to be upset with what he was able to do, especially the contract that he's on a minimum contract. We claimed him off of waivers in 2025. He was a reliable starter for us this year. Solis, we're going to have to release. I just got him to be a lefty to eat some innings, and he pitched 171 innings, did not do very well. A FIP of 5.63. He's not going to be here next year. He is on an auto-renew contract, so we are going to release him before that kicks in. And then Kendall Williams, we put him into the starting rotation later in the season. He had some ups and downs. I think I'd probably want to keep him maybe in the bullpen moving forward as a higher leverage arm. I think maybe he could excel there, but I don't think that he should be a starter that we rely on. In the bullpen, Wander Suero had a pretty solid campaign. He was close to a 1-win pitcher. It's the guy that we claimed off of waivers from Houston in July. Vasquez did all right. Rosa was very up and down. His FIP was okay. His ERA really wasn't, but he had some good times. He had some bad times. Bummer and Rogers, Roberson, the rest of these guys, it's not much to write home about. Some of them did all right. Some of them not so much. Conine was a pretty good long relief option. I wish he could have made it work as a starter, but it seems like he's kind of found a niche being in the bullpen. So I'd like to try to maybe keep him there in that long relief role. He wouldn't cost a lot of money. I think that he can excel at that role. But that is that. We'll take a look at the standings here real quick, and then I'll get into some of your comments. So the Rays won the AL East with a 102-60 record. The Orioles got a wild card with an 89-73 record. The Blue Jays just 4 games behind them. The Royals win the AL Central at 94-68. The Tigers, minus Green and Torkelson, still get a wild card at 92-70. So they have a great team over there in Detroit. Clearly losing those two guys and still getting a wild card is very impressive. The Astros end up clinching the AL West at 90-72, the worst division winner, but still they are in the playoffs. You can see that the Blue Jays finished 4 games out of a wild card spot. The Angels 6 games out, and that does it for the teams above 500. In the National League, both of the wild cards come from the NL East. The Mets win the division at 99-63. The Braves finish a game behind them at 98-64. What a race that was. And then the Nationals just 3 games behind at 96-66. The Cubs win the NL Central at 96-66. And in the NL West, it was the Padres who went 98-64. They win the NL West over the Dodgers, who go a very strong 91-71, but they finish 5 games out of a playoff spot. You can see we finished 20 games out in the division, 18 games out in the wild card race. Taking a look at the info here real quick, you can see that in July we went 16-9, August 12-15, a little more up and down, but September and October we closed it out well. 14-12 in September, 3-1 in October. Of course, one of our goals was to play around 500 baseball, and we played around 500 baseball. We were just a few games under, so hopefully our owner will be all right with that. But let's get into a couple of your comments here before we get into the offseason. So I would consider switching Green and Torque spots in the outfield since Torque's defensive ratings are better. He could honestly probably play pretty good center, which would make him one of the most valuable players in baseball. But I know that spot is going to be occupied by Curiel. I was going to give Curiel some time in the majors in September, but unfortunately he struggled a little bit in Double A. He got better as his time there went on, so we're going to keep him there to start 2027. You can see a 731 OPS. I'd like to see him do a little bit better offensively before I have no problems calling him straight up from Double A if he's dominating down there, but we're going to start him there in 2027. If we decide to bump him up to AAA at some point, we can do that. But I'm sure he's going to be in the majors at some point next season. And you are right, he is going to be our center fielder of the future as soon as he is ready. In terms of the other suggestion, switching Green and Torque spots, yeah, it's if we needed him to play center field, we maybe we could. Same thing with if we go to Torkelson, like if we really needed him to play center field, we could. It's just when it comes to Coors Field, you want these guys' range to be as high as possible. So the fact that these guys are in the corners, it really helps. And if we could just get like a 75, 80 range guy in center field like Curiel is, it just makes the defense that much better. So we could put these guys into center field, and we could swap these guys' positions in the outfield certainly. Move Torkelson to right and then move Green to left. But yeah, so it's it is just it's a nice problem to have, the fact that we're gonna have three really good defensive outfielders, which you need in cores. The outfield is just so expansive in cores that you really need those guys to be able to cover a lot of ground, more so than any other park in the majors. So it is a good problem to have. Add a nice shortstop, and I feel like this team can go far. If you think you're starting to compete, you might want to cut down the scouting budget a bit for more money. Yeah, that might be something that we look to do. And in terms of shortstop, of course, yeah, Simmons was just a stopgap option, and can't really expect too much out of a 37-year-old shortstop. So that is one of the priorities, finding a really good shortstop. I mean, if you take a look here, Drew Bowser, I mean, his range isn't very good, but I think he's going to be good as more of just a bench guy. Jose Miranda, his range isn't good either. I think he's going to be better as just a bench guy. So we don't really have that option in-house, but I think that we can definitely find a shortstop somewhere. Of course, defense is the main priority when it comes to finding that shortstop. We want the guy to be really, really good defensively. If he's good offensively, that's an added bonus, but we definitely want to look defensively for that. I love the additions, and I think the best thing for Coors teams is to have 2 or 3 Torkelson-like hitters. I mean, yeah, the offense and the team really started playing well when we infused this guy into the lineup, so definitely want to keep him. The only gripe I had with the big trade is that I would have tried anything to get around giving up Haynes. Of course, that was BJ Haynes, our first-round pick a year or two ago. But, yeah, I didn't want to give him up either, but we do have to give up some good stuff to get guys like this, and clearly, so far, it's worked out. So hopefully that trade doesn't come back to bite us. Epps might be better. Epps might be better. There we go. Being a first baseman with that arm. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. So, I mean, we could theoretically move him to first base. He is 6 feet tall, which I think would be fine. He doesn't have much of an arm. He is playing second base. I mean, they don't need the strongest arms, but, it is something that we can look towards. We do have, as I said, Chad Kirstein coming up through the minor leagues. He did really well at A-ball so far, so we moved him to Double-A, and he did really well there too at 24 years old. We're going to probably start him at AAA in 2027, and then if he does well there, we can then call him up and he can be our first baseman for a while. Not a lot of power for a first baseman, but everything else seems to be pretty solid. He has a lot of speed, which is not what you really expect out of your first baseman, but that could be kind of a neat dynamic to have a first baseman who's not really going to hit for a lot of homers, not going to hit for a lot of power, but he can do a lot of other stuff. I mean, like, he had a .414 on-base percentage this year at Double-A, albeit in only 60 games, but even at A-ball, .488 OBP. So I think this guy could maybe be pretty good. Our 4th-round pick last year, it seems like he could be a really, really solid option for us at first base. So that is that. Those were the comments. So I'm going to simulate ahead here to the end of the postseason, and we will see who takes home the World Series trophy in 2026. All right. It was the Chicago Cubs who sweep the Houston Astros in the 2026 World Series, and the Cubs are your World Series champions. Take a look at the playoff tree. We had a couple classics in the ALCS and the NLCS. Both series went 7 games. There was the Cubs and the Nationals, the Astros and the Rays. And, of course, the Cubs and the Astros ended up coming out on top in those 7-game series. Take a look here. The Orioles won the wild card game over the Tigers. The Nationals won the wild card game over the Braves. The ALDS, both series were not very competitive. The Astros swept the Royals 3-0. The Rays won in 4 games over the Orioles. Both of them in the NL. The Nationals, it took 5 games to beat the Mets. The Cubs took 5 games to beat the Padres. And then, of course, the Cubs had to play another long series, but they ended up sweeping the Astros in the 2026 World Series. So the offseason starts tomorrow. We are going to hope that we don't get fired. I don't think that we will. I would be kind of a little surprised. You can see those empty spots in the lineup in the rotation. We did release a couple guys like Solis, Simmons, and Mountcastle that we weren't going to re-sign. I guess I could have did that with Chavis too, but I did not. Your season score this year is 293. Should do better next year, Frank. The score is nothing to be proud of. Okay, so let's see what our owner has to say this time. Oh, we got a new owner. Oh, yes. Let's go. Here's to another 6 years. Let's go, baby. Oh, wow. Thank God. I did not expect that to happen. Dylan Toney. All right, what kind of owner is he? Well, he's meddling when it comes to involvement. I don't like that. His priority is profit, but he is very generous fiscally, which I like, and he's tolerant for his, I mean, it's not the best owner I could have gotten. It's not the worst owner I could have gotten, but you know, it's better than the old one, certainly. So he has a lot of goals for us. He wants us to play 500 ball, upgrade at first base, improve your team starting pitcher ERA. I don't know if that's going to happen. Acquire a team leader, increase attendance by about 10,000, and reach the playoffs in the next 4 seasons. Team owner changes. Big news. You have been just informed that your team owner, Charlie Montfort, has sold the team. The new owner is Dylan Toney. He wishes you all the best and looks forward to a good business relationship. Awesome. We will have $182 million available for total team expenses. I have set aside $21.9 million for the player development budget for your use. Oh, I don't like that. See, that's why I didn't like the meddling thing. Don't. I wanted the development budget to be $36 million for a reason. He just. It's 1 step forward, 2 steps back in this save, man. Unbelievable. So we have a team payroll of around $130 million. Simmons, so Simmons and Solis were going to retire anyway. End of season top prospect list. Burford is, I guess, technically still considered a prospect, so he is number 2. He has been passed by Mike Groenfield, who was the 3rd overall pick in the 2026 draft. I don't quite know if I agree with that, but whatever. You can see that we also have Jenderson Zapata. You can see this season he was in Double-A, and he put up a 3.30 ERA, a 3.41 FIP. So we just need that control to get up a little bit, just like Burford, and then he can be up in the majors. So we'll start him in Triple-A next season. So new owner for the Colorado Rockies. I don't know, really. I thought that, the fact that he was generous for his fiscal personality would be good, but I really don't like a meddling owner is just such a pain in the behind to deal with, just because you could see already it was a prime example. I wanted to spend $36 million on player development. He slashed it to $21.9 million. And I can't change it because that's what the owner wants to do. So it's upsetting. So the Blue Jays, their GM has been fired. The Cleveland GM has been fired. The manager in Cleveland has also been fired. Kim Wynn has been fired. The GM for Miami, right? Her name is Kim, right? Yeah, okay. Pittsburgh GM has been fired. The manager has been fired in Pittsburgh as well. GM has been fired in St. Louis. A lot of people fired. Dave Roberts has been fired by the Dodgers. Wow. And the Dodgers GM is fired too. Wow. I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish I was fired. I would have loved to have taken the Dodgers job. Damn. All right, whatever. We can only deal with what we have in front of us. So we have $130 million for the team. And right now, looking at the salaries for 2027, we're only slated, assuming that Torkelson and Green don't make a lot of money. Let's say they both do make $21 million. We're at 72.5, so that does give us a lot of money to play around with. You can see that we have $51 million for free agents, $41 million for extensions. The big goal this offseason is re-signing Green and Torkelson. If we don't do that, it doesn't matter what else we do because the team's not going to be good next year. So our main priority is going to be re-signing Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson. So let's do that first. Let's go to salary arbitration. Let's get Torkelson and Green signed to extensions, and then we'll worry about everything else later. All right, so we got everybody signed that we wanted to get signed. We brought Vasquez back. We signed Rocker to a 1-year deal for $7.5 million. So that is what he's going to make in 2027, and the fans are obviously going to be pretty happy about that. We brought back Jose Miranda, Brett Conine. We did sign Spencer Torkelson, a one-year contract for $21 million. He wanted over $30 million for 1 year. We did get him down to 21. I am very scared to see what he's going to want for a long-term contract extension after this year, but it's going to have to be worth it because we traded for him to keep him here long-term. Riley Green, we signed to a one-year deal for $21 million. He also wanted over $30 million. I think he wanted like $31 million. So we get him re-signed, which is good. I'm also scared to see what he's going to want for a long-term contract extension, but we got to keep Torkelson and Green together. They are our core. They are young enough to be here for the long haul. We do bring back Ali Sanchez and Drew Romo to be our catching duo for the future, and that is that. So we're not going to bring back Aaron Brooks. He was a guy that we just got from Miami to eat some innings over the rest of the season. We're not going to bring back Raymel Sorosa. We're going to just let him hit the free agent market. We're not going to bring back Aaron Bummer. He was just a guy that we signed on a one-year deal to be a lefty. I thought about bringing back Michael Chavis, but I'm just going to let him hit the free agent market. Maybe we can bring him back, if I don't see a better option. But for right now, we're just going to let him hit the free agent market. I looked at what he wanted at an extension. He initially wanted a 4-year deal at $9 million. I countered with a 1-year deal at $7.5. He then countered with a 2-year deal at $7.9 million with a player option for the second year. And now it seems like his demand has gone up a little bit. So I don't want to give him this contract. Obviously, I think that would be a waste of money. So we're going to let him hit the free agent market. We'll see what his market's kind of like. I'm not against bringing him back. I don't want to give him term, especially because he is kind of fragile. It seems like he has not done what he did last year. He doesn't have the track record of doing that. So I don't want to give him 4 years at $10 million a year. So we're going to let him hit the free agent market. Joey Gerber, a guy that we got from Seattle, he did not do very well for us, so we're going to let him walk. We're going to let Wander Suero hit the free agent market, and then these are the minor league free agents that we are not going to bring back. So we got the awards coming up, so I guess I don't have to stop simulating here. So let me just delete all. We can see who wins the awards here. So we'll start with the Gold Glove Award in the AL as Asa Lacy, Remuto, Evan White, Willie Castro, Matt Chapman, Gabriel Arias, Taylor Trammell, Anthony Alford, and Joe Adele. And in the National League, let's see if we got anybody. Denny Brady won the Gold Glove for pitchers. Ivan Herrera, Alex Manelis, Nate Allen, Cole Tucker, Fernando Tatis Jr. Torkelson won the Gold Glove in left field, which is neat. Pache won it in center field. And Kevin Lips, the right fielder for the Philadelphia Phillies. Yeah, probably. Wow. Okay. So there are your Gold Glove Award winners for 2026. Reliever of the year in the AL was Carter Boyd, and then Nick Robertson, Eduard Bazardo, Gabriel Sosa, Yaniel Correa, and Ken Giles also get receiving votes. In the NL, it was Michael Baez from the Padres, and there's that guy that all the way back in 2022 we thought about signing, and it seems like he's been quite the reliever. So maybe we should have signed him. Burl Caraway, and Mason Fox also get votes for NL reliever, but it does go to Baez from the Padres. Silver Slugger, I'm sure we got at least a couple of those. In the American League, Victor Gonzalez won. Oh, that's right. The American League got rid of the DH. Catcher, Adley Rutschman. First base, Dom Smith, who's now with Cleveland. Tony Lopez at second base, Matt Chapman at third. Royce Lewis at shortstop. Kyle Tucker in left, Mike Trout in center, and Austin Hayes in right field. It seems like Trout might win the MVP, 169 WRC plus, 7 wins above replacement. Matt Chapman, though, has a case for sure. In the NL, Joey Bart at catcher, Pete Alonso at first base, Ozzie Albies at second, Alex Bregman at third, Fernando Tatis Jr. at short, Christian Yelich in left, Pache in center, and Acuna in right, designated hitter Kevin Stroshine for the Washington Nationals. He had pretty solid season, so we did not get anybody. I imagine if we had Green and Torkelson for the entire season, we would. Well, maybe not. Acuna had a really, really good year. He's going to win MVP probably. Oh well, no, Tatis. He has a chance. It's going to be one of those two. It's going to be Tatis or Acuna. So I mean, maybe Torkelson would have definitely gotten it over Yelich, I think, if he was here for the entire year. But regardless, those are your Silver Slugger Award winners. Now we have Rookie of the Year, and in the AL, it was Jung-Hoo Lee for the Kansas City Royals, and Tyler Callahan, Nick Decker, New Jersey kid, and Nate Pierce get votes as well. In the NL, it was Kevin Lips who won the Gold Glove in right field. Jeremy Rosario, Jackson Ferris, Ezekiel Pagan gets some votes. Darius Segura and Nani Williams gets a vote, which is Nice. Not a first place vote, but he does get a vote from somebody, which is nice to see. Here is the posted players. Let's see. Is anybody worth going after? Not, well, I mean, he's good defensively, but I mean, I know I said defense was the most important thing, but I need a little bit more than that offensively. I can't have that. So now we have manager of the year, and we'll see who that is. It is Luis M. Lopez of the Houston Astros, and in the National League, it was Lance Dixon of the Chicago Cubs. No surprise there. Cy Young Award is tomorrow. Let's see who won this as we calculate some stuff here. In the AL, it was Nick Neidert, who they acquired in the trade with Miami on December 20th, 2022. He rewards them with a Cy Young Award in 2026. It's a little surprising. The stats don't really add up there. I don't know how he won a 3.48 ERA, 147 strikeouts, 40 walks, a 4.14 FIP. This guy was the AL Cy Young? Really? I find it hard to believe. You're telling me there wasn't a guy that had a better season than this in the AL? Severino finished second. He only had 22 starts. Sean Newcomb, 52 games, only 14 starts. Wow. I get the Cy Young race in the American League was not very good this year. Wow. Okay, so Nick Neidert, your unlikely AL Cy Young Award winner. Severino got 14 first place votes. Neidert only got 12, but I guess the second and third place votes gave Neidert the edge over Severino. I don't know. In any case, National League, it was Mackenzie Gore. Now, see, this is a Cy Young career. 221 strikeouts in 190 innings, 3.26 ERA, a 3.06 FIP. Yeah, okay, so that I understand. We had Bauer, Bieber, Chang, Flaherty, Urquidy, Urias, Abreu, Colome, and Yep also receiving votes. MVP, we'll see who wins it in the American League and the National League. In the AL, it is Austin Hayes. Wow, so not Trout, not Chapman, it's Austin Hayes for the Baltimore Orioles. A 6 wins above replacement, a 147 WRC plus, a 925 OPS, 30 home runs, 125 runs batted in, led the league in hits with 209. Wow. That is a bit of a surprise. I did not expect him to win that. In the National League, no surprises here. It is Ronald Acuna Jr. put together another outstanding season. Wow, he is very good. He is very good at the game of baseball. So now we can simulate up ahead here to the start of free agency. All right, so free agent filings happened today. You can see that we have $58 million available for free agents, $89 million for extensions. So we'll take a look here at some of the top free agents. JT Realmuto has filed for free agency. We are in the good position of not needing a catcher. We have Ali Sanchez and Drew Romo, so we'll see where Realmuto ends up going. International free agents, we'll see if there's anybody worth it this time. Here's a left-handed. This guy might be worth it as a solid left-handed pitcher. This is a guy I think we might look at to bring in. He only wants $4.775 million. I mean, I'm not against that to bring in a good lefty for solid lefty for the rotation, I think is fair to say. Anybody else? Danny Castillo? No. Yeah, so another kind of weak international free agent class. We'll take a look here. Corbin Burns. Let's see how he's done since we traded him. So if we go to his pitching stats here. So we let him go. We traded him after the 2023 season, and with the Yankees, his first year at the Yankees, it wasn't super great. The past 2 years, he's kind of reined it in a little bit, so he's been solid. So, that's nice to see. Byron Buxton, Dylan Cease, Sean Newcomb, Michael Kopech, Realmuto, Kyle Tucker, Nate Pearson, Victor Robles, and Mike Soroka, some of the best names on the free agent list. So we'll take a look here. First base, we don't need a long-term option because I am confident that Kirstein can hold down that spot for years to come. It's fine. There he is. So, I mean, I'm not against just bringing him up now, but I just like to start him in AAA. So we don't need let me know. Do you guys think I should have him be the starting first baseman on opening day? I'm not totally against it. I mean, his grades would indicate that he's probably about ready. So I'm not against putting him at first base to start the season. So we may or may not need a first baseman. Maybe we slot Kirstein in there, and that's a cheap option for us. So we do need a third baseman. We don't have that option internally. We do need a third baseman. and we need a shortstop. We don't have those options in our minor league system. So we need a third baseman and a shortstop, definitely. Center field, we just really need a stopgap option because we have Curiel coming up. He should be up at some point in 2027. So we really just need a stopgap option. I'd rather not have Nani Williams there. I guess he was on an auto renew, but yeah, I'd rather not have Nani Williams. We do need one starting pitcher. So we'll take a look here. We don't quite have that option ready at the moment. Of course, we have Zapata and we have Danny Rodriguez coming up through the system, so they will be in a rotation eventually, but right now they are not quite ready, I don't think. So we need at least one starting pitcher, probably two, because I said I wanted to take Kendall Williams out of there. I'll keep Denny Brady in there. We have Rocker, we have Burford, and we need some bullpen pieces. We do have some bullpen pieces throughout the minors. We have Steve Bernard, although his control is not really where it needs to be. We have some guys coming up certainly that we can fill the bullpen with, but let's take a look here at free agents. We do have a lot of money to play around with, as I said, $58 million. So let's look at all players here. So Nate Pearson is the top free agent available at a 70 overall grade. You can see with the Blue Jays, a 3.58 ERA, a 3.37 FIP, a 4.5 win player last year, 209 strikeouts, 36 walks. This is not a guy, he's a compensation free agent. I'm not going to sign him. I'd like to see what the contract he wants is. Yeah, so he wants a 8-year contract at about $25 million a year. So at 30 years old, I'm not giving him that. I really don't want to spend a lot of money this offseason. Willie Adams, now this is an interesting guy, maybe 70 grade range. I mean, he only wants $9.5 million. I'm not against a guy like this for our shortstop. I think that he could be a pretty solid option. Third base, Moncada, he is the best third baseman available. He only wants $17 million. He has 65 grade arm, 65 grade range. It's not the worst option out there. I don't know really if that's the best use of our resources though. Kyle Seager's out there on a 1-year deal at $7.5 million. I mean, it's not terrible. You see, he played in 32 games last year with the Orioles, 756 OPS. I mean, his free agent class certainly isn't the best that I've seen. There's certainly some names here though that we can take a look at. So we do need a shortstop. So let's go to shortstop, number one. So we have Adams. J.P. Crawford is out there. We had him, of course, in 2025. We got him from the Giants in that trade. I guess that was So we have Crawford to 65 grade range. David Fletcher, who, I don't want to put him at shortstop. He'd be more of like a second base guy if we needed it, and we don't really need a second base guy. So Didi Gregorius is out there. Kevin Newman, Cole Tucker. I mean, at this point, we're really just looking... Nick Allen. But he is not very good offensively at all. So Nick Allen, Cole Tucker, he wants $5 million. Kevin Newman, there's Didi. We're really just looking for guys that are good defensively. And, I mean, Willie Adams, he could be an option. He was a 3-win player for the Rays in 2026. That could be a guy that we look at. He doesn't want a whole lot of money. I mean, Freddie Galvis is out there, but he just wants to be a bench player. His defensive ratings have definitely fallen off. He's 37, so that's probably not the best option. Taking a look at third base. There it is, third base. So the best option, of course, is Moncada, Seager. We have Nick Solak. Don't really think I'd want to put him at third base. He doesn't really have much of an arm. He could play third base, but I wouldn't want to put him there. Brian Anderson, Miguel Andujar. So there's not really... I don't know. We got LeMahieu. I wouldn't want to put him at third base, of course. Austin Riley. He does. Cole Tucker again. I mean, I'd rather put Cole Tucker at third instead of shortstop. I think that would probably be a better option. So these are some of the better options out there. Isaiah Kiner, Falefa. So I mean, let me know if any of these guys are speaking to you guys out there, guys that you want to maybe see me target. Starting pitchers, of course, Pearson, Soroka, Clayton Kershaw, Tyone. So let's just go through it this way. So we'll see how these guys are. He doesn't have a lot of stuff, but this is what I was talking about, experimenting with guys with movement and control. So maybe we take a look at a guy like Soroka. I mean, we don't really need a long-term starting pitcher, though, I don't think. We don't need to spend a lot of money. So there's Kershaw, who has definitely fallen off a little bit as he's gotten older. He's 38 years old. Tyone, his injury history is wrecked, so we don't really want to get him. Lorenzen, who could also maybe do a little bit with the bat if we needed him to. Chaminade, who's fragile. Archer's fragile. Todd Peterson, he looks like he was in the Giants system the past few years. David Leal, torn UCL, torn rotator cuff. John Olsen, so starting pitching market definitely gets a lot worse the further down you go, which isn't too surprising. This is not a very strong free agent class. Relievers, we do need some of them. So go all the way back up. So we got Logan Gilbert, who's a relief. I mean, he's extreme fly ball anyway. And I'm surprised he's not a starter at this point. I'm surprised that the Mariners transitioned him to relief. Logan Webb. Take a look maybe at closers. So Kenley Jansen. Yeah, this is a very weak free agent class. There's not a lot of options, which, I mean, it's fine. We don't need to spend a lot of money anyway as it is. We'll take a look here if there's anybody interesting on the trading block. All players, not really, no. So we need a third baseman. We need a shortstop. May or may not need a first baseman. We need a starting pitcher and some bullpen help. So let me know who you guys are looking at, thinking of. If you have any suggestions, names that I didn't say, but you know, maybe, hey, go take a look at this guy. Maybe he's on this team, but if not, just look him up. Maybe he could be an option. Definitely leave it in the comments. I don't know if we're quite ready to contend yet, but I would like to think that we could play around 500 baseball next year. I mean, we have Green. This is a good core as it is. Like this group of five, Green, Torkelson, Bishop, Epps, and Romo. That's a good group of five. That's a good base to start off with. We just need to kind of fill that base. And the same thing with Rocker and Burford. Those are two good starting pitchers to build off of. We just need to continue to add to it a little bit. Vasquez, Roberson, and Conine, that's a solid base in the bullpen. So we have like a good base in place, like all levels of this Major League roster. We just need to supplement it with other talent. So let me know who you guys are thinking of. If there's anybody in free agency that kind of piqued your interest, maybe I could take a look at them. As I said, if there's just other guys that weren't in free agency, maybe I could trade for somebody. Let me know maybe who I should look for. I mean, we do have some prospect pieces, of course. We go to the pipeline and then go to the Rockies. We do have some pieces that we could part with, certainly. There are pieces that we could maybe trade to get a player in here that could help us now. So we also do have a lot of money, so we could take on, pretty sizable contract if the player is worth it, if the player is good. So with all that said, I want to thank y'all for watching this episode. We'll be back next time to finish up the offseason and start up the 2027 season. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.